Well, I have mentioned before, I have a great eye for quality. Now, this is both a blessing and a curse. It's really handy for the thrift store or rummage sale kind of thing. You know, I can spot something that is of quality from a long ways away. Even if it's an item I'm not familiar with, I know, if it's good or not right away. Well, today I had to go into town. I would needed some more of this glue. I have some left over from last year, but it might have froze, and I don't think it likes to be froze. But I have had great luck with this glue. It's what I use on the dog sleds. You can, for the driving bows, I'll laminate them, real thin pieces of ash. This stuff is waterproof. The only thing, this is Tight Bond 3, okay? But I like the waterproof thing. But the one thing I knew I see on there, it says longer assembly time, which would be a great deal because one of the only really complaint I had with this glue in using it before is, you know, you got to put things together and you got to be sure they're going to be locked in that position because there's no shifting things around. You know, it sets up sometimes a little too fast. So hopefully this will give me a little bit more time, because you want to be able to get things squared away just right before it starts locking up on you. And like I say, the stuff used to be it would rush you. You were on a deadline with this stuff. But anyway, I got some more of that. It's not that expensive, and it says the ultimate wood glue, and I agree. It does the job. I mean, there's other versions of the Tight Bond, but this is the waterproof one. For the extra dollar, it's worth it because my stuff, like even now it's raining. So. But it was raining this morning, so I figured, well, I'll go to town, get some of that glue. I had some other stuff to get, and it kept raining throughout the day. What I was really looking for was some more of these clamps. These long 4-footers. Or I'd like to get some 2-footers, but I'm going to have to order them online because nobody carries them locally anymore. They all go to like a generic type of clamp that they're really sturdy. They're made by Pony, but they're called a Jorgensen. Now, it was funny because I know when I first got these clamps, I called them Pony clamps. And somebody said, oh no, the Jorgensen are better. Well, it's the same thing, but that's just people. People in the comments particularly, but I like those clamps. They're not cheap, but you can put a lot of tension on them. It's kind of like a 8, it's an odd shaped bar that really grips and doesn't flex because you don't need it. If it's a spindly bar, then things flex and then these get out of kilter and don't. So you need a good one. And as much as I use them, they're worth it. But like I say, I'll have to order them online because I can't get them locally. But as it was raining, and it kept raining all day, I made the rounds to the thrift stores. Hit a few of them that were on the way because I was driving all over town hitting every soul-sucking big shop, big box store trying to find those clamps. But like I said, everybody had kind of knockoffs, but not the original ones. But in my journey around that, I went by some thrift stores, so I stopped. Well, and that's what actually brightened up my day a little bit. Now, when I say about spotting quality from a long ways away, I was a long ways across the store, in the thrift store, and I spotted this blanket. And I zeroed right in on this because it's funny how, people could have walked by this thing for weeks and not paid any mind to it. But it is a Hudson Bay, and it is a 3.5 point. It's 3 and then a half of one. Now, I suppose maybe, people, they get odd thoughts about wool, that wool, don't want wool, but wool is good. And it was a bargain for like $10, you know. Hudson Bay blankets are not cheap, and it's in excellent condition. See, when I first bought it, I thought, okay, if this thing is rough, I could make a $100 rug out of this thing very easily. But the problem is it's in too good a shape, so I'll have to keep it until something happens to it to damage it, and then it'll be turned into a rug. So it's like an investment. But I know just the color of warp I would use too. You know, this would make a very good rug. Okay, and in a different thrift store, I run across this, which is an old lamp. Now, the thing I like about these, the burner is a white flame burner. Now, these aren't near what my Naugatuck lamps are, and this one is kind of funny in that I got to replace the wick, but I got a whole roll of that wicking. But good little lamp, and the best thing about it, it's the kind that's designed where you don't have to take the top off to fill them. You can just fill them through the cap. You know, that it's, if you're filling them every day, it's a very handy thing to have. I don't think this chimney should be taller, but I can easily, I'm sure I got in my pile of chimneys, but this is a nice little lamp. So I think it, oh yeah, $4.99 for it. And in the same store, I bought an old Victor long spring. Now, I never really cared for these traps. I used to do a lot of trapping, but I had a few old log springs that I used, like the single spring ones. But they're really not a very good trap. I mean, they worked, and yeah, and the one thing they do work for is beavers, because they aren't so hard to bed for a beaver, but like catching a coyote in there would be almost impossible. There's so much metal, they would know the trap was there. You know, they can sense these things. But she's all there, wildly out of adjustment. You know, this should be ways down. But I don't see these much anymore. You know, nobody uses these. Like I said, when I was trapping, I never used them because, for one thing, that's a hell of a lot of steel you're lugging around. You know, if you're carrying that stuff around, or even carrying it on a dog sled, that adds up, and they're always tangled, and coil spring traps are just so much better. But I think it was a couple bucks. I just don't see these anymore, and it is, you know, the old Victor. So I figured I'd grab that. I don't think I have any of them left from my trapping years. I've got coil springs of all sorts, but that I don't really have. Oh, and this. You know, I'm a great fan of the Victorinox, the Field Master. Now, I have never seen them in a store. I always have to order them online. But I was in a Menards, and like I say, I spot things, and as I was walking by where all the Swiss Army knives were, which were just down from where the clamps were, but not the clamp I was looking for, here I spotted they had one Fieldmaster. So I thought, oh well, I'm not going to leave that. Like I said, I usually have to order them online. I've got 3 of them, and I always keep one new spare one on hand. But I thought, well, this would be nice. You can never have too many of these. You know, I use them 100 times a day, I'm sure I use a Swiss Army knife. But I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have an extra new one on hand. It's like the ultimate in gift giving. If you ever have a reason to have to give a gift to somebody, this is the knife. So I'm set now. But oh, I tell you, that was a long day of town. But this helps, you know, this kind of thing. You find a little treasure like that, because I do not like going to town. But I do find treasures.